Hey guys, Algebra 1. Today we are going to be learning about how to find the vertex of a parabola. So last week we learned how to find the axis of symmetry. We're going to use that axis of symmetry and find the vertex. So we're doing the same things that we did last week. We're just adding on and doing one more thing. So the first thing we do is find the axis of symmetry. And it tells us to use negative b over 2. B being our 10, A, B, and C numbers. So we're going to do negative 10 over 2 because we found the 10 from our B spot and we plugged it into this equation. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, so that means that it is a negative 5. We're going to take that negative 5 and we're going to substitute it in to our equation everywhere we see an x. So we're going to have negative 5 squared. Because it's x squared, instead of x, we're putting a negative 5 in. Don't forget to put your parentheses around that. Plus 10 times a negative 5 plus 24. So I've taken this negative 5, I've substituted it in for x, and everywhere I see x, I put negative 5. Now, we have to do that math. So that is negative 5 squared becomes 25 minus 10 times 5 is 50 plus 24. And that number is going to be a negative 1. So we solved for y. That's equal to y. And this first number, this 5 that we found, is equal to x. So we need to write our vertex. And our vertex is at negative 5, because that's what our x is, comma, what our y is, negative 1. Our last things that we have to do, we have to find the direction of the parabola. To find the direction of the parabola, we're looking to see, is this number in front of x squared positive or negative? Well, technically there's a 1 there, and it's a positive 1. So our direction of our parabola is going to be up. And then we have to find our y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is our C term, our last one, which is 24. And that's all we're doing for this week, is finding our axis of symmetry, substituting that into our equation for x, solving for y, then putting that as our vertex, determining if it's up or down, and what our y-intercept is. So only one more thing than last week. Let's look at number 2. So first we have to find our axis of symmetry. Again, we're going to look to our second term, the term in front of x. We call that our b term. We're going to plug that in. So I have negative 10 over 2. That's equal to a negative 5, and that is our x term. Now, we are going to substitute that in. We're going to take this number. We're going to substitute it in for all of our x's so that I will have negative 8 times a negative 5 squared plus 10 times a negative 5 minus 3. So now we have to solve for y. So negative 8 times negative 5 squared is 25. So negative 8 times 25 is 200, a negative 200. 10 times a negative 5 is a negative 50 minus 3 is equal to a negative 253. And now it tells us to write the vertex. So we always write our x first. So it's at negative 5, comma, and then our y, which is negative 253. We have to determine the direction of our parabola. So we're going to look up here, look at the number in front of our x squared. If that is positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. So it's down. And then we have to determine our y-intercept. And our y-intercept is our last number, which is negative 3. one last one to go over. Because the only thing that we've changed, or the only thing that we've added on, is substituting in for x. So we have to take our negative b. So this is a -4. So I've put my -4 in for b. I have my negative and a 2. Don't forget this negative. A negative times a negative becomes a positive. So that means that this is 2, just a positive 2. And that is our x value. So we're going to take that x value and we're going to substitute it in for all of the x's in our equation. So I'll have 4, 2 squared, because it's 4 times x squared, minus 4 times 2 plus 1. Now, 2 squared is 4, so 4 times 4 is 16, minus 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1, and that is equal to 9, and that is our y value. So we have to write this in vertex form, which is our x comma y. So our x is 2, and our y is 9. Then we have to look and see the direction of our parabola. So we're going to look at this number in front of our x squared. If it's positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. So we see that it's positive, so it's up. And then we have to determine our y-intercept. And our y-intercept is our last number. So our y-intercept is 1. And that's all we have to do for this week's lessons. So I hope you guys have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions.